6 daily habits to uplevel your self-worth for entrepreneurs. For those who don't know me, I'm Kim, and I help female entrepreneurs to overcome perfectionism and uplevel their self-worth in 21 days. So why is self-worth so important? So self-worth is it's at the basis of everything that you're not achieving almost, because when you work on your self-worth, it's like every area of your life up levels, and it stops you from people pleasing. It allows you to have strong boundaries with your clients. It allows you to charge more because you believe that you're worth it. It allows you to go out there and take massive action and get off like that hamster wheel of frustration and feeling like you're self-sabotaging yourself, or you're missing out on opportunities because you're not playing full out and you're second guessing yourself. And it helps you overcome that procrastination. It helps you be more visible. It helps you with all of the things, basically. So when you work on your self-worth, it's like every area of your life gets to improve. But I feel like you especially see this in your business, because in a job, it's like there's a lot of things where you can almost hide behind it with like an employer, where maybe those issues don't come to the surface as much, like say money issues, because like you're getting that frequent paycheck. Whereas when you become an entrepreneur, it's like really up to you to start charging what you think you should charge for your services and not undercharge yourself, and to really have like that wealth consciousness and get out of a scarcity mindset. And a lot of this comes down to having strong self-worth, because when you believe that you're worthy and deserving of having those things, then you're gonna do the actions to take to go out there and get them. There was this really interesting study that I was reading about and I was listening to, and they were talking about how the way that we see our future selves is like the way we see a stranger, basically. So in the study, what they did was they used an MRI machine to look at people's brains, and first they had them think about themselves like in the future, and then they also had them think about like a celebrity that they don't know, and the same part of their brain was being activated. So the way that you see yourself in the future is the way that you see a stranger, which is why it can be kind of difficult to make choices based on like that future version of yourself. But the magic really comes in when you can start to see that future version of yourself as like a friend or like a close acquaintance, or like not being a stranger. Because when you can like identify with that person as being you, then you can take the actions that you need to in the present that are going to create the future that you want to create. This is why it's so important to like frequently connect with like your future self, whether you're doing that through visualizations or like imagining what you're going to do in the future, or like what you would like your future to be like, or if you're like journaling on it. A really powerful practice can be like to write down like a day in the life kind of diary entry, but write it from like the perspective of the things you want already happening. And I do this quite a lot, and it's very, very effective. Like pretty much every single time that I've done it and like been pretty consistent with what I've decided I want to create, I wake up one day and I'm like, oh my God, I'm living in that reality right now. So it's really important to be intentional about the future that you want to create for yourself. And a lot of this comes down to how worthy and deserving you feel of having something, which is why it's so important to do the self-worth work. It's a lot of W's. So anyways, let's hop into it. So the first thing is praising yourself. Most of us do not grow up feeling familiar with praising ourselves. We are very critical of ourselves. We are like harsher on ourselves than anyone else is. We have no forgiveness, no grace. We are like these little dictators in our minds. And that's not helpful for you when you want to go out there and like do amazing things, because like most people can't, I'm going to go out there and say on all people, they've actually done studies on this, you can't shame someone into being better. It doesn't work. Like people are not motivated to act better from their shame. Otherwise, like when people went to prison, well then they would never do anything bad ever again because of the shame of it all. And we know that's not true. So you have to start praising yourself. And sometimes people are like, how can I do that though? Like, I just don't even think I'm doing a good job. And like, that's where you notice, okay, well, why don't I think I'm doing a good job? Like, if I'm not doing a good job, what am I doing? Am I doing the best that I could? Okay, that's good enough. Like the best ever that you can put in that point in time, that is your best. And that's all you can do. And knowing that the more you do something, the better you're gonna get at it. So what you're doing, it is good enough. And when you know better and you know other things to do, you'll do those things as well, but you can't get over there from right here. So basically, you need to work on praising yourself. And for so many of my clients, when I tell them, okay, like start speaking to yourself nicely, they're like, I don't know how. And I'm like, okay, well, this is where the work really begins, because that voice in your head that you speak to, that really becomes your reality. And I know that sounds really weird, but our mind works like a biofeedback machine. You put something in, and your mind is just going to work to show you evidence of that in your reality all the time. And the reason that it does this is because there is so much stimulus happening in the world all around you all the time that you couldn't possibly pay attention to all of it. So your mind filters things out for you based on what you believe. That's why a lot of people, you can tell them something and they like just don't believe it. It's because their version of reality is different. And none of us are wrong per se, but you want to choose beliefs and choose the version of reality that's going to support you the most in what you want to create. And if you want to have these huge, juicy, audacious goals, you can't be living in a version of reality where you think that you're not good enough. It's just not going to happen. So this is like the most basic way, and you're probably not going to get it perfect on the first try, and that's okay. We're not aiming for perfection, we're aiming for progress. So if you even just start out each day by like waking up, seeing your face in the mirror and like saying like 5 nice things to yourself, or say the things that you wish that you heard as a child but maybe you didn't get to hear, like you're smart, you're beautiful, like you're amazing, I'm so lucky to have you in my life. Keep doing this over and over. Maybe it feels weird at first, but that's okay, because we are hardwired to seek out what's familiar and avoid the unfamiliar. So if something feels unfamiliar, that's good, because it means it's different, so it's gonna feel weird, so expect that. And even if you want to write yourself like post-it notes as reminders and just put them around your house, like things like I'm enough, like I'm valuable, I'm lovable, all the things, just really start building that belief and that encouragement in yourself. And if you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. We really create our feelings from our thinking. So if you want to feel differently, you need to change how you think about something, and especially about yourself. So like praising yourself, telling yourself you did a good job, I'm really proud of you. Like even if you can almost see yourself as that younger child version of you, and like how would you speak to a child? Would you be like, oh my God, you should have done it better? No, you would have like grace and forgiveness and know that they're learning. Well, you're still learning, so why are you not giving yourself that grace and forgiveness? So praising yourself. If you walk away from today and you only do one thing, do this. The second one is learning to say no, because no is like one of the most magnetic words that we could ever say to people. But a lot of the times we think when we say no, we're like, that person will get mad at me, they're not gonna like me, like I'm gonna miss out on an opportunity, like maybe I'm gonna lose them as a client. But the thing is when you have boundaries that are like when you have strong boundaries, people respect you more, basically. And if people push back against those boundaries, well, that really shows you the kind of person that they are and the relationship that you're going to have with them. And this is really helpful to know. I know, especially like when I first started my business, I wish that I had understood this, because I think there was a lot of clients where I was like, things were happening and I was kind of just letting them happen, and it never ultimately led to a good situation. And if I had just been like strong enough to say no, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache. And the thing is you're not missing out on opportunities, because it's not an opportunity if it's not something that makes you feel good or like is in your best interest. Like those situations never lead to something better. Like people are always like, oh, like if you do this work for free, like it'll lead to paid work in the future. I don't think it ever does. I've yet to meet someone where that was the case. If someone doesn't value your work and your time right now, they're not going to value it down the line. So like, why would you show up and agree to do it for free right now? It makes no sense. And like, we set the standard for how people treat us. So if you're just going to let people walk all over you, they will. Nobody's going to be like, oh, that's really nice of you, we're not going to take advantage of that. So that's why you have to like do the self-worth work, but also be able to say no to things that aren't in your best interest. It's not what you want to do, is not respecting your time and your energy and your work and like whatever it is that you're creating. Learn to say no, because when you start saying no to the things that aren't the right thing for you, you put the space in for the right thing to come in. Because if you're spending all your time like in that other activity that you said yes to that you didn't really want to, you won't have the bandwidth or the time to say yes to the thing that you actually do really want to do. So this is when like that trust and that faith in the universe and like opportunities or whatever you want to believe in is really important, because you have to know that you're worthy and deserving of having better, and that the other opportunities are out there and they're gonna come for you, but you have to be the person to say no to the things that aren't right for you. And like boundaries, I think there's this saying where it's like, good fences make for good neighbors, and that's kind of like what boundaries are like, because it like illustrates like, okay, here's the line, this is mine, this is yours, please don't cross it. If you cross it, it's gonna kind of like violate my property. And if you want it, there's a gate though, and if I let you in, that's different because you've asked for permission. But this analogy is a little bit like, I don't know, convoluted, but you see what I'm saying though. It's like we have fences around properties so people can understand how to treat that property and what's mine and what's yours. And that's what boundaries are for as well. The third thing is, this kind of builds on the saying no thing, but it's like, don't settle for things that are not what you want. Like if someone is like coming to you and they're like, oh, okay, here's the job, and you kind of like do all the work, you like figure out your hourly rate, you're like, oh, it'll cost me this much time, this much petrol, like all the things, and you're like, okay, it would be like $3,000 for me to do that job. And then they're like, we have a budget of like $50. And then if you say yes to that, then that's you settling because you're not showing people that you believe that you're worth more. And let me tell you right now, like if someone only wants to pay you $50 for what's like a $3,000 job, like it's not gonna go well. Like those clients are usually the most demanding. They want the most for the least amount of money, and it never ends up being a good time or a good use of your energy. So it's on you to be like, I am not settling for this. Like sometimes like good opportunities come along and maybe they don't have a budget, and that's on you to decide. But I'm saying like as a general rule, like if people are asking you to do things for way less than you're worth and you settle and you say yes out of a place of fear because you're scared no other clients will come along, then the universe is just going to keep giving you that because that's what you've said yes to. It's on us to say no to the things that aren't us. Like know what you want and say no to everything that isn't that. And this feels scary at first. It feels frightening. It feels like you're like, what if another opportunity never comes along? But the thing is they always do. I always say like opportunities are like buses, like another one always comes along 15 minutes later. And when you can start to see the world that way, then that's what you're gonna get back. Because like I was saying in that first thing, we create our reality through what we choose to believe, and reality can only show up for us in the way that we think that it can. So when you shift your beliefs to knowing that like there's always another opportunity, the right thing is out there, I'm not going to say yes to anything that's not really what I want to do, then that's when that version of reality can show up for you. But self-worth is like the groundwork and the basis that actually allows you to feel safe to do that. Number 4 is self-care. So other people really mirror back to us like what we believe about ourselves, how we treat ourselves. I was having a conversation with a girl the other day, and she was like, oh, like my boyfriend's not doing this, he doesn't pay me attention, he doesn't do this. And I was like, okay, well, how can you start giving those things to yourself first? Because she was like, I'm kind of at a point where I'm looking for that attention from other people. And I was like, okay, well, if you want to have this relationship continue, or at least put in the time to do the work on it, you need to stop looking for that validation in other people, because other people will never give it to you. Like even if you end this relationship right now and you go and start dating someone else because you think they're going to give you the attention that you want, like the same pattern is just going to happen again, because we can't rely on other people to validate and give us something that we're not giving to ourselves. Other people will treat you the way you treat yourself. And so if you're not giving yourself that and filling up your own cup and being self-sufficient, then nobody else can give it to you, because other people are just a mirror back to us of how we're treating ourselves. And I know that maybe stings for a couple of people, and I'm saying it with a caveat that nobody like invites in like abusive relationships or like it's not your fault kind of thing. But at the same time, we decide how we will, like what we will accept from people. Like say something happens in a situation that isn't like, I don't know, I think in this example, people always go straight away to abusive relationships. And I'm not saying that people ask for that, but then at the same point, they're choosing to stay there. And I know it's not easy to leave, but the reason that they're still there is because of their level of self-worth. They don't believe that there's other options out there for them. And so maybe this is kind of an extreme example, but like you need to be the person who is treating yourself the way that you need to be treated. And then other people will mirror that back to you. Number 5 is meditate. This gives you the space in your mind to do all of the above things, because when your mind is filled up with other things and you don't know how to focus, and you keep just focusing on all the other things and you don't know how to bring it back to a place of like mindfulness and being in the present moment, it gets really hard to do all of the other things. So the thing that you really need to focus on is like learning to create a practice for mindfulness and being in the present moment. And then the sixth one, sorry, my bad. The sixth one is questioning your beliefs. So when things come up, or doubts or fears or like lack mentality comes up, then really diving into that and being like, is this thought ultimately true? Is it true for like everyone in the universe? Probably not. So why do I think it's true for me? What's a better feeling thought that I can choose? You can journal on this. You can use whatever technique you want to like shift this. It's going to take time and practice, because sometimes we're not always aware of how our beliefs are affecting us. So that's why I love doing the work that I do with my clients, because we are able to just get straight in there into the subconscious and understand like, okay, why is this happening? Like, what's going on that's making me do this? So if you're ready to up-level your self-worth in a whole new way, you can book in a strategy call with me and we can chat about how I can help you do this in one session in 21 days. So I hope you have an incredible day, and I will talk to you soon.